Okay, so chapter 4, physical energy, fueling the fire. Next 4 chapters, the author is going to break down the next 4 energy sources. This one, chapter 4, is devoted solely to physical energy. So what is physical energy? It's an interaction between oxygen and glucose, which I thought was just really cool that he said that. It's an interaction between oxygen and glucose, which is very powerful, and you'll really see this here in this next part. There are 5 different energy reservoirs that we can look at here. The first one is breathing, which is that oxygen. So he says that that's the most underlooked source of physical energy. To gain that energy is just the way that you breathe. The deep in and out breaths, you're breathing in that oxygen and it's out, and it actually gives you a lot of physical energy. The second one is the foods that we eat. So if we're eating good food, if we're drinking a lot of water, he really advocates for 2 to 3 hours, eating for 2 to 3 hours. If you overeat, then you're eating for more than that time frame. So that'll, of course, your blood sugar will spike. And if you undereat, your blood sugar will drop. And so either which way, you're going to end up in a very low energy state if you're overeating or undereating. So we want to eat for 2 to 3 hour periods, and we want to do so with good, healthy foods, which he has a bunch of charts and talks a lot about that. I'm not going to get into that here, but it's really good stuff if you want to check it out. So that you can see that glucose and then that oxygen is the foods that we eat, and our breathing are very, very essential, 2 most important things when it comes to energy. The third one is the quality of sleep. So we need to be sleeping very, very well. He talks about that. He talks about naps. There's some studies. NASA did a study on the power of naps, how naps actually help your focus, help your energy levels, and different things like that. So if you want to check that out as well. The fourth one is the intermittent recovery during the day. So just taking rest throughout the day. There's a thing called the circadian rhythms. There's this natural rhythm that the body goes through of up and then to sleep and up and sleep. It's kind of even when you're sleeping at night, those rhythms are going up and down, where you're hitting deep sleep and then light sleep and deep sleep and light sleep. It actually happens throughout the day as well. And so studies even show that around 3 p.m., and the keywords will look at this, but around 3 p.m. you get you are at your lowest point of fatigue. So it's just the awareness of that, when you need to be taking that recovery, when you need to be taking that rest, is very important. The fifth energy reservoir here is your level of fitness. So evidently the more fit you are, the more energy, physical energy, that you will have. Let me say this here as well. So here at the level of fitness, you're going to gain and you're going to sustain energy, but more important, the author shows us, is that it also builds our energy capacity. This is the one place you build your energy capacity on the physical level. Remember, that's the biggest thing we're trying to do on all of these different, in each one of these sources: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So here in the physical, we're going to build it by doing interval training. So lifting weights, doing sprints and resting, anything that you're full out energetically or full out exerting your muscles, and then resting, that's actually going to build your energy capacities in the physical. So let's look briefly at some key terms that I thought were important. Chronic overeating. So if you think back to the second reservoir, the foods that you eat, when you're overeating, he calls it chronic overeating. It's eating to the point where one exceeds his necessary limit of food for 2 to 3 hours. The author calls this, he calls this too much recovery. So you remember stress, if you can remember the previous chapter, stress and then recovery, stress, recovery. He says when you're overeating, it's too much recovery, because food, remember, is actually, it's not the stress part, it's the recovery. Food is to fuel us and it's to recover us. But if we're overeating, it's over recovery. I thought that was just really cool. A glycemic index is a very important thing to understand. It measures the speed with which sugar from specific foods is released into the bloodstream. So the more the sugar goes into your blood pressure spikes based upon that. So you want low glycemic foods, like an apple, for example, is a low glycemic food. Carrots, What else is this? Tomatoes, low glycemic on the glycemic index. So what happens is the sugar releases slower, so you're not having these crazy energy spikes. Like if I were to eat a bowl of cereal, this crazy energy spike, or a muffin, but it always leads to a crash, high glycemic foods. So very important thing. And that is about it. That is it for this chapter. Let's go ahead and move on then to chapter 5.